Welcome to Lisbon, Portugal. Join us as we check off the top things to do and see in the city as we build a 3-day Lisbon, Portugal itinerary. Day 1 in Lisbon starts with pastéis de nata at Manteigaria. These custard tarts are everywhere in the city, but this place does them right. The pastry is flaky, the filling is creamy, and they come out fresh from the oven all day. You can watch the bakers at work while waiting for your order. You can eat the tart at the standing counter inside. A quick espresso on the side and we're fueled up for the day. We're at the Justa Elevator here in Lisbon, Portugal. It dates back to 1899. Originally it was powered by steam. It's one of the top attractions in the old city. Unfortunately today it's closed. Normally you can go to the top, cost about €6. If it looks a little bit like the Eiffel Tower, there's a good reason for that. It was actually built by one of the students of the architect of the Eiffel Tower, Gustav Eiffel. Definitely a cool thing to check out. If you're looking for a similar view and you want to save the €6, you can climb up to the cathedral, which gives a pretty similar view without the cool elevator ride. Like I said, it's closed today, so unfortunately we're not going to get to experience it, but it's definitely something you should check out while you are in Lisbon. We're going to check out the Carmo Archaeological Museum behind me. The highlight of the museum is a Gothic cathedral. It collapsed in the 1755 earthquake, but most of the building still remains, just an open roof. It's especially cool during the morning hours from what I'm told. So we're going to check it out, see what's inside, and explore the archaeological museum as well. Inside the attached museum, there's a mix of everything. Ancient tombs, mandolin-style carvings, South American mummies, and even a set of eerie limestone tombs with sculpted faces. The mix of artifacts feels a little random, but it makes for an interesting stop. The blend of Gothic ruins and museum oddities makes this one of the most unique sites in Lisbon. I'm here at St. George's Castle, walking the walls of the medieval castle. It's pretty cool. The castle itself dates back to the 1100s, but they say that there's archaeological evidence of people occupying this area of Lisbon, this hilltop site, since the 1st century BC. So very cool, very ancient site. I got here really early and there's nobody here, which is super cool. So definitely recommend buying your tickets online and being one of the first people in the door. I've been here for about 30 minutes and I'm still the only one checking out the castle area. So it's a good way to see it all on your own. Pretty much just me and the peacocks at the moment. Hey guys. We're all heading to the top together. Very good, very good. Keep moving, folks, keep moving. Walking the walls is probably the top thing to do here. There's also a small museum downstairs that is worth checking out. But as you can see, the views are great. History's cool. Lots to see, lots to check out. Let's see what there is. After walking through the castle grounds, don't skip the Miradouro for one of the best views in the city. You get a full panorama of Lisbon's rooftops, the Tagus River, and the April 25th Bridge. Worth a stop before heading back down. For lunch, we hit Taberna da Rua de Flores. This place fills up fast for dinner, but coming at noon lets you avoid the crowds. The menu changes daily, but it's always a mix of traditional Portuguese flavors with modern touches. The small plates mean you get to try a variety of dishes. Think fresh seafood, flavorful stews, and grilled meats. No reservations, just put your name on the list and wait with a glass of wine. Prices are reasonable for what you get, and the food mostly lives up to the hype. Next up, Livraria Bertrand, the world's oldest operating bookstore. The wooden shelves and tile floors give it a classic feel, and the front rooms are packed with Portuguese literature. Even if you don't read Portuguese, the history alone makes it a worthwhile stop. There's also a small selection of books in English if you want a literary souvenir, or visit the cafe in the back for a coffee or a snack. Feira da Ladra, the city's flea market, is a mix of antiques, secondhand goods, and random finds. You'll see everything from vintage tiles to used books, old coins, and Azuelo fragments. It's held twice a week, so check the schedule before going. Right next to it is the Mercado de Santa Clara, a covered market with local crafts, handmade jewelry, and a few food stalls. If you're into treasure hunting or unique souvenirs, this is the place to dig around. Alfama at night is a completely different vibe. The narrow streets are packed with small bars, late-night shops, and tiny restaurants tucked into alleys. No need to plan, just wander. Pop into places that look interesting and see where the night takes you. We happened across a Valentine's Day market with a hilltop view, which made for a great unexpected stop. For dinner, find a spot that speaks to you. Plenty of places serve great seafood and traditional Portuguese dishes without needing a reservation.
We're at Mundo Fantástico de Sardines de Portugal. It is like a candy shop, but full of tin fish. Tin fish. You know, for all those times you're in just the mood to pop a nice little sardine. There's sardines on Ferris wheels, there's sardines on balloons. I've actually never had a sardine, but today is not going to be the day, despite the fact that it's on a Ferris wheel, which I do enjoy.
Getting to Sintra is easy, just a 40-minute train ride from Rocio Station in central Lisbon. Trains run frequently, and it's a cheap way to escape the city for a day of castles, palaces, and historic estates. Good morning and welcome back to Now Go See It. We're on a side trip today to the town of Sintra. It's located a short train ride from central Lisbon, easy to get to. Today we'll be exploring a few sites in the area, starting off with Penha Palace. We spent the night at a hotel located at the base of the castle. Today we'll be climbing up to the top of the castle and checking that out, as well as some other sites here in Sintra. First stop in Sintra, Piraquita Bakery. This place has been around for over a century, and it's the go-to spot for local pastries. The Caseta de Sintra is a small, slightly chewy cheesecake tart with cinnamon, and the Travesseiro is a flaky puff pastry filled with almond cream. Both are worth trying, and if there's a line, it moves fast. Order one of each, grab a coffee, and enjoy them outside before heading to the next stop.
Well, here we are again, hiking to the top of something, because as you know, Tony won't let me take a cab or a bus or a bike or a motorized scooter. We always have to walk, so we are walking to the castle this morning. It's on top of a gigantic hill. We're about a quarter of the way up.
Instead of taking a taxi or Uber up to Penha Palace, we walked. It's a steep but rewarding route that takes you past Villa Sassetti, a 19th century mansion surrounded by gardens. The path winds through moss-covered trees and giant boulders, feeling more like something out of a fantasy novel than a city hike. It's not an easy walk, especially towards the top, but the scenery makes it worth the effort. By the time you reach Penha Palace, you'll feel like you've earned the visit. We're here. We made it to the top of the hill.
We're not at the top.
We're nearly to the top. We've made it almost all the way to the top.
We're 2/3 of the way to the top.
All right, we're 2/3 of the way to the top. See the castle behind us? I would say it took about 45 minutes to climb up here. It's pretty steep. If you're in poor physical health like me, I would advise taking a taxi or a tuk-tuk. It's pretty steep, lots of steps, lots of narrow passageways, lots of slippery rocks, but beautiful. The whole thing was beautiful. I wouldn't miss it. Penha Palace is a mashup of architectural styles, making it look like something straight out of a fairy tale. The bright red and yellow towers stand out against the green forest of the Sintra Hills. Inside, the rooms are packed with period furniture, elaborate tile work, and stunning decor. Some highlights include the Arab Room with its illusionary painted ceiling, the Royal Dining Room with its ornate chandeliers, and the Queen's Terrace with sweeping views over Sintra. Walking through feels like stepping into a 19th century royal fantasy, ornate but lived in. Outside, the terraces and courtyards are just as impressive as the interiors. It's worth taking some time to explore before heading back into the city center. The National Palace of Sintra is hard to miss, with its two massive white chimneys dominating the skyline. Inside, it's a mix of Gothic, Madeleine, and Moorish influences. The highlight is the tile room, covered floor-to-ceiling in stunning blue azaleos, and the swan room with its ceiling paintings. Unlike Penha, this palace was actually used as a royal residence for centuries, so it has a more historic, less whimsical feel. It's an easy, worthwhile stop if you're in Sintra. For lunch, we stopped at Restaurante a Cabaça, a traditional Portuguese spot. We ordered the cod fritters, sausage with breadcrumbs, and a Portuguese pork stew. The portions were generous, the flavors were bold, and everything tasted like a home-cooked meal. It's the kind of place where you will linger a little longer, soaking in the atmosphere and savoring every bite before heading out for more exploring. Quinta de Regaleira is one of Sintra's most fascinating estates, packed with symbolism, mystery, and intricate design. The palace itself is Gothic and dramatic, but the real highlight is the sprawling garden filled with underground tunnels, grottos, and hidden passageways.
We just went through and down the initiation well. I don't know what they were initiating, but I bet it wasn't anything pretty. So you enter into a cave, and then you go down some stairs, and you keep going down more stairs, and then you spiral all the way down, and then if you look up, you are probably at least 100 feet underground. And I think that's what, back in the old days when they did hazing, they probably just threw you down the well when you were trying to join a frat. I mean, I'm not a history expert, but that's my guess.
The initiation well is the most famous feature, a deep spiral staircase leading into the earth, supposedly used for secretive ceremonies. Walking through the gardens feels like an adventure, with unexpected water features, stone towers, and winding paths. The palace interior is less grand than Peña, but still worth a look, with detailed wood carvings and a small but elegant chapel. After a few hours of exploring, we made our way back to Lisbon for the night. After a day of castle hopping, we took the train back to Lisbon. Back in Lisbon, we ended our night the best way possible, with dinner and fado. We made our way to Tasca de Tamachada, a tiny, unassuming spot where the food is as rich as the music. The moment you step inside, you're hit with the aroma of grilled seafood and garlic, and within minutes, a soulful voice fills the room. Fado isn't just music, it's raw emotion set to a Portuguese guitar. Between bites of perfectly cooked bacalhau and sips of wine, we got lost in the melodies. It's the kind of experience that sticks with you, one that makes Lisbon feel like more than just a destination. It's day 3 in Lisbon, our final day, and we're making it count. We've got history, food, views, and one last ride on the city's famous yellow trams. No trip to Lisbon is complete without a stop at Belém Tower. It's small but mighty, perched right on the water, standing guard over the Tagus River for more than 500 years. Originally built as a fortress, it's an iconic symbol of Portugal's age of exploration. You can climb the narrow spiral staircase to the top for panoramic views, or just admire the Manuelan architecture from below with its stone carvings and Moorish influences. Either way, it's a must-see, and the setting by the river makes it even more impressive.
We're at the monastery of Geronimo, aka Jeronimos. It is a monastery that is near the launch point for some of the initial journeys for Vasco da Gama. There was a woman in 1992, her name was Dolores Van Cartier, and she had a mobster husband, and she actually escaped here and joined a nunnery, which then they started a famous choir and performed for the Pope. That's not what... Whatever, it's a monastery, and it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and probably Whoopi Goldberg has been here. I'm just saying.
Jeronimo's Monastery is one of those places that looks like it was plucked straight from a fantasy novel. It's grand, it's intricate, and it's packed with history. Built to celebrate Vasco da Gama's successful voyage to India, it's a masterpiece of Manuelan architecture. The moment you step inside, the grandeur hits you. The towering stone columns stretch toward the sky, each one carved with notable details. Sea creatures, ropes, and other maritime symbols, a nod to Portugal's seafaring past. Even if you're not a history buff, this place is worth visiting just for the sheer artistry of it all. Walking through the monastery, you get a real sense of the time and craftsmanship that went into building it. We've stopped by the Monument of the Discoveries. It's a gigantic stone monument on the riverside here in Lisbon. It was built in 1940, made permanent in 1960. It's supposed to commemorate 500 years since the death of Henry the Navigator. It's very cool. It's closed for renovation right now, but normally you can go inside and get an even better view. But still a very impressive monument on the side of the river.
It's a monumental occasion.
By this point, we needed food. Enter Time Out Market.
Hi there, we're in the Time Out Market. So you know Time Out magazine, they have different magazines depending on which city you live in. And it's a collection of the best tourist attractions, restaurants, cultural events, shows in that city. So in Lisbon, the creators of the magazine got together and selected kind of the best restaurants from around the city, and they invited them all to one space. So what they put together was this amazing food hall. There is everything here from traditional Portuguese restaurants to pastries to Japanese and Thai and sushi and carpaccio, lots of tapas. And it's really cool. You can get drinks, there's bars, there's actually different restaurants that surround the exterior. It's a good time, highly recommend. We are here at the LX Market. It is a dining, shopping, art, drinking, gallery. It's just lots of cool stuff. There's so many amazing restaurants in this complex. There are unique art galleries, ceramic shops, vintage clothing, vintage bookstores. There are some inside spaces that have over 30 little pop-up shops inside. And if you come on a Sunday, there's actually a artisan flea market right around the corner. And between 2 and 6 or 7, there's lots of happy hour deals going on amazing little sidewalk cafes. So you can grab your sangria, mojitos for about €6 and get a little fried sausage snack or some sardines while you're at it. Highly recommend. Probably one of the top 3 attractions that I have done so far in Lisbon.
Tram 28 is more than just public transport. It's a ride through Lisbon's history. We hopped on in the late afternoon, squeezed into the wooden seats, and held on as the tram lurched forward. We're about to take the famed Tram 28. It's going to go through all the top sites here in Lisbon. We're going to check it out from the comfort of a seat. And by comfort, I mean a crammed tram.
Clang, clang, clang went the trolley. Ring, ring, ring went the bell.
It's not the smoothest ride, but that's part of the fun. The tram winds its way through Almafa, up on possibly steep hills, past tiled facades and laundry strung between balconies. You get glimpses of hidden alleyways, tiny bakeries, and locals going about their day. It rattles through historic district, past cathedrals, viewpoints, and graffiti-covered walls. Every turn feels like a postcard. For the best experience, go early or late in the day to avoid crowds. But honestly, even if you're packed in like sardines, it's a ride worth taking. If you want the best view in Lisbon, Miradouro de Senhora do Monte is it. It's a bit of a climb, but totally worth it. From the top, you can see everything. The red rooftops, the Tagus River, the castle on the hill. It's the perfect place to just stop and take it all in. Next up in the itinerary is the National Tile Museum, filled with lots of cool tiles. Portugal is known for its azuleus, those gorgeous blue and white tiles that cover everything from buildings to train stations. The best place to learn about them? The National Tile Museum. It's housed in a former convent, which already makes it cool, but the collection inside is next level. You'll see everything from tiny, intricate patterns to massive tile panels that tell entire stories. Some depict religious scenes, others daily life in Old Lisbon. I don't know what you expect to see when you hear about the National Tile Museum, but as you can see behind me, this place is a lot more elaborate and cool than you might expect from, tiles. The standout, a 75-foot-long tile mural of Lisbon before the 1755 earthquake. It's a rare look at the city before it was reshaped by disaster. The museum isn't huge, but it's packed with detail. Even if you're not a museum person, it's worth a stop just to appreciate how much work goes into these tiles. And if you're a sucker for souvenirs, the gift shop has some of the best tile-inspired finds in the city. Before we wrapped up the day, we had to do one last thing. A shot of Zinza. A Zinzina is the spot to try this cherry liqueur, served straight up or with a sour cherry at the bottom. It's strong, sweet, and goes down a little too easily. The locals sip it casually, but we went full tourist and tossed it back. Verdict? Delicious. If you're in Lisbon, it's a must. For our final meal, we hit to Prada 52, and wow, best meal we had in Lisbon. Hands down, the food, unreal. We ordered a mix of dishes, each one somehow better than the last. The vibe, cozy but lively. The service, fantastic. The only downside, we were so busy stuffing our faces that we completely forgot to film, so you'll just have to trust us on this one. And that's it, 3 incredible days in Lisbon. If you enjoyed the trip, hit the like button, subscribe for more adventures, and head over to nowgoseeit.com for full travel guides, tips, and more. Until next time, now go see Lisbon, Portugal.